Good morning, everyone. Today we're firing up the 26G and we're going to hopefully put in one more water on the farm. Got the beast running here this morning. Things are actually looking pretty good, so I'm going to get this thing fired up and try to get us going. Follow along as we put in another non-electric water on the farm. It right here. We're going to connect it down to that faucet right down there. So the first thing we're going to do is dig ourselves a hole for the main part of the barbar A to stick in the ground, and typically you'd want this thing pretty wide so you can work in it, and you would make its location the drain field, so to speak, for the device. But I'm doing this one a little different this time. I'm going to make an opening here with one of my farm hands, and that's where we're going to set it. And then I'm going to trench my way through this really, really hard clay because it's so dry here, all the way down to the water spigot. And I'm going to turn this trench, because I'm taking out the water spigot anyways, I'm going to turn this trench into the drain field part for this barbar A. So basically when the water turns on, it comes up, fills the bowl, the animals drink, and then whatever they don't drink runs back down into its little own drain field. Well, I'm going to make a drain field kind of off to the side into the south here, so it'll drain that way instead of, you know, staying in the device, so to speak. So that's my game plan. I'm hopeful it'll work. I'm stacking up tires like they recommended. You need to do that to keep the warm air of the earth coming up into the barbar A. And once you get that done, you have to put a little air tire on top to kind of support it. Then there's a culvert that you buy or get from wherever you want on the outside, and then the barbar A on the inside. And then I wrapped a foam around the culvert to try and keep it, you know, a little bit from getting side frost in on it. I even put some foam on that top tire. I got the connection there where the water line comes out. I marked it just in case I ever have to find it with a few yellow tags. And I've got the water line connection outside it. So basically this is kind of my setup here at the moment. And what I'm going to basically do now is start turning this into a drain field. I'm going to start with some big old concrete chunks because that's what I've got. And this is all running south, so to speak. So this is the direction the water will run. The barbar A is sitting with the tires about 80 inches in the ground. The rest of the trench is pushing 90 inches in the ground, so the water's going to want to run into it. So I'm going to fill it up with chunks of concrete, and I'm going to fill it up for maybe, I don't know, hopefully a good 30, 40 feet. And then I'm going to put some insulation around the water line so it can't get hurt by the gravel. And then I'm going to put water, I guess a weed barrier, but, you know, a poly over the top to keep the crap from getting into the rock. And then I'm going to put a little bit of foam over the top in case we ever have to dig the line. I'll be able to find it. I don't think the foam's really there for insulation value. I'm really doing it so if I ever had to find the line or dig in a spot, I would hit the pink foam before I'd hit my water line and know that I've gone too far. I'm using it more as an indicator. So again, we're just putting this in on tires. The water line's coming out the bottom, and then the warm air will come up the tires into the barbar A. And the barbar A will drain down into the tires, and then the tires will drain into this kind of rock bed structure. I think it'll work actually pretty good. It's a little different, like I said, than what barbar A normally wants you to do, which does work on our place in most situations, where you dig out a huge, 6 foot by 6 foot hole, and a couple feet down you turn it into a great big drain field. My headache is in this clay, nothing drains around the clay. So making a huge runoff area to the south, I think, is actually going to help this water better. Plus, it's pushing the water table a little bit. It's getting close to it when we get spring thaw. So as you can see, I've got my whole gravel bed here going all the way down across here. I think it's going to work out really good. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, like I said, protect that from dirt and stuff getting in it. And then this is basically the rest of the trench all the way down to where the water line is. I'm going to take out the spigot, these two posts, and I'm going to connect up to this water line here and take the handle out because I'm going to use it on a different spot on the farm. I'm going to protect the water line itself with a little bit of like cellulosic foam. Obviously, it would always protect against frost, but this far down, I don't think I'm going to have an issue. But I want to make sure that if the earth is pushing it against anything sharp down here, it can't damage it. And giving that a little extra protection, I think, will help. And then I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to poly the top of that rock so that crap can't get in it so badly. And then we'll backfill it with a little bit of foam so we can find that line again. So this is what it's looking like so far. It's coming in really nicely for the day. They said there was a chance of rain. We've had a couple sprinkles, but no water so far. So put a 90 degree on here, tapped into the water line, and we're getting it all set to go. Basically, all we got to do at this point is get the poly on it, which is what we're doing right here. Get the poly over the top of everything, and then once we get the poly on it, we'll get the foam on it here, which is more of just an indicator, just throwing some old pieces of pink foam in it, so that way if I ever had to dig down, hopefully I'd hit the foam before my water line. And then we'll start the backfill process. It's really not too difficult of a job. It is some manual work. And here we got to be down in my area at least 5 to 6 feet to beat the frost. So now goes backfill time. Once we get it backfilled in enough, just with a little bit of dirt so the foam doesn't move, we'll get the skid steer here going and bury it in with the skid steer quite easily. And then we're going to probably leave it a little mounded and a little high because, like typical clay, gosh, it takes forever. Even the spring and summer rains here won't sink this. It'll take the winter snows. It'll take the 4 or 5 feet of snow melting and thawing in the spring to get this all to really settle down decent. So we'll mound it up a little high. Like I said, we'll throw some dirt on it right now just to get it going, and then we get the skid steer going and just kind of really punch it with the skid steer as far as filling it in. And then we'll leave it, like I said, a little bit on the mounded side just so we can't have too much sinkage, if you know what I mean. But it's really going well. It's going good. As far as the process, we started at 8 o'clock in the morning. And probably working pretty hard by, 3 o'clock, so to speak. And then I would say, I'd say we started at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we're probably working pretty hard by 8:30, probably done by 3 p.m. I think that's about what we were. So I think it was 8 to 3, roughly. But good timing. Got it all done. No issues, so I'm real pleased. What I really like about these waters is, you're not sucking any electricity. There's no way to, so to speak, fry an animal or have to worry about it, losing its heater and, freezing up on you in the middle of winter trying to work with it. I like that. So here we are just kind of shoveling around the top aspect. I get the skid pretty close to it, but I always get a little nervous as we get close to the top. Don't want to bump the device, if you know what I mean. And once we got it all raked in, leveled up, between the culvert and the water, there's space. And if you leave that space, obviously rain would go down it. The other thing is, obviously, if you had enough water down below it, it would float the device. So the way they have us pin it in is with pea gravel. So you fill between the culvert and the water with pea gravel, and that would always allow you, if you ever had to remove it too. But it does have a removable top to get to the inner pieces, which is good. So we fill this sucker up with pea gravel, and then it'll get rained on a few times. Now even that pea gravel will sink a little bit and really get stiff and hard in there. I think we've got 1, 2, this is the third on this side, fourth, fifth, I think this is the fifth one on the farm. So they're really quite proven for us in the deep cold. They work well, so we like them. We're going to keep using them. I threw a tire around them just because the goats like to stand right on that edge, and I don't want them hurting their feet down it. I don't want them slipping into the pea gravel. Tire just gives me a little protection there. But that's where it is right now. It's a little mounded behind it there on where we dug. We're going to leave that mounded. It's working great. Water comes up. It's got a nice paddle on it. This happens to be the paddle for sheep and small goats. And I think it's going to work great, folks. Thanks for liking and watching. You're welcome to scroll through our other playlists and see the other waters we've put in. Keep watching, liking, subscribing, folks. We'll keep putting out great videos like this.